He went from Mr. Gay UK to a cannibalistic killer, committing one of the most gruesome murders that police had ever seen. I'm True Crime Caitlin, and this is the murder of Damien Oldfield. In 1993, when he was just 21 years old, Anthony Morley would win the first ever Mr. Gay UK beauty contest. Along with winning a cash prize of £1,000 and a holiday to Gran Canaria, winning this title would open up a world of opportunity for Anthony. Growing up, he had dreamed of becoming a dancer, and so after winning this title, he made the move, moving from Leeds down to London to follow the bright lights, hoping to break out in the industry, and he did. He found work as a dancer and a model, and he was somewhat successful. Eventually he would move back up north. He would move in the Bexley Place area of Leeds. He began working as a sous chef inside of a very high-end restaurant where he specialised in seafood. Anthony Morley really struggled with two major things in his life. The first thing being his sexuality. He didn't know if he was straight or if he was gay or if he was bisexual. He had very serious, committed, long-term relationships with both men and women, so not really being able to pinpoint his sexuality was something that really bothered Anthony. He would later describe that in his childhood years, he had been a victim of SA by a much older man, and this really had an effect on his sexual identity. The other thing was that he struggled with alcohol. As soon as some alcohol crossed Anthony Morley's lips, he would turn into a monster. He would be violent and aggressive. On one occasion, he was arguing with his boyfriend at the time, and they were arguing over some money when Anthony tried to attack him with a meat cleaver. On another occasion, he was drunk in a bar and he got into an altercation with another man. He grabbed this man by the throat and threatened to kill him. On the 23rd of April 2008, Anthony had spent the day texting back and forward with a man named Damien Oldfield. Damien was an out and proud man who worked for the magazine Bent. He was one of these people where he lived life to the fullest and he did not take 1 minute for granted. He loved life and he loved the people that he surrounded himself with. He had an amazing support network consisting of his friends and his family. Anthony and Damien did already know each other. They had previously been in a romantic relationship, but at this moment in time they weren't in a relationship. They were just agreeing to meet up. They met in Leeds city centre before heading back to Anthony's home where they were going to be having a bit of a date night. Anthony, being the sous chef specialising in seafood, cooked the pair of them a fish dish, and they spent the night drinking alcohol together, kissing, cuddling and snuggling. Nothing would have prepared Damien for what was about to come. The two men eventually made their way up to Anthony's bedroom where they put on the DVD Brokeback Mountain before Anthony eventually drifted off to sleep. In court, Anthony would say that he was awoken by Damien, who was performing a sexual act on him without his consent, and this made Anthony feel used, betrayed, and above all, triggered. The traumatizing memories of being SA'd in his childhood came flooding back to him, and then all of a sudden, everything went black. Damien Oldfield would have his throat slit from behind before being stabbed at least 30 times by Anthony Morley. Some of these stab wounds were delivered post-mortem, meaning that Damien was already dead when Anthony was still stabbing him. Anthony would then slice off parts of Damien's flesh, taking them to his kitchen where he proceeded to cook them in oil, butter and herbs. At approximately 2:30 a.m, Anthony would run into a nearby kebab shop dressed in only a blood-soaked dressing gown and flip-flops. He asked one of the staff members inside to ring the police because he had just murdered a man who had tried to R-word him. He then stood outside of the shop and waited for the police to arrive to arrest him. When the police arrived at Anthony's home, they would discover the body of Damien, and strangely, Anthony had put a bank card on Damien's neck wound, trying to conceal it or maybe trying to leave a message. They discovered a 9-inch piece of Damien's flesh which had been cut from his chest. This bit of flesh included a nipple, and that had just been cut from his body. They found a pan on the hob which still had bits of Damien's flesh and muscle inside of it, alongside the oil, the butter, the herbs and the seeds. Some of this was also found chewed up in the bin, so it had clearly been chewed, and some of it potentially consumed by Anthony. During the trial, Anthony Morley was quoted saying, "At some point, Damien's body had just become something I would deal with at work. a piece of meat. That's the only thing I can think of. That was my daily task, preparing meat. Anthony Morley would be found guilty of the murder of Damien Oldfield, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum of 30 years to serve.